Welcome back to the channel. And if you're seeing this, probably it's because I'd like to think you've sent me some love. You've clicked on the QR code, or if you're seeing this for free, then good for you guys. Now, on the table, practically all the Swiss Army knives that I own. There are four Victorinox models here and two Wenger models. Now, I've excluded the Victorinox Swiss tool from the list. And what I wanted to do for this particular episode is to tell you about my Swiss Army knives, why I have them, and a few of the stories behind these particular tools. Now, I've had a love for Swiss Army knives for a really long time, practically since the 80s, since my years in the Boy Scouts. And it was not until the early 1990s, mind you, that I actually got myself a real Victorinox, which was in the form of the classic SD. Now, over the years, I've had several Victorinox and Wenger models, but two in particular are now long gone. One was actually stolen, the other I gave away. It was a Victorinox Huntsman. And my first Wenger, the tradesman, was actually stolen. So these are all that's left, and each one of these tools have their own stories except for two latest acquisitions. This Victorinox Pioneer, which I actually got purchased during my stay in Corimao, believe it or not, and another classic SD, but this time in Alox. So let's start with this classic SD, which I recently purchased just to replace the classic SD that I lost some years back. And this particular Victorinox is actually a Christmas gift from my Uncle Arthur. It's a tribute actually to the classic SD that I had back in the day. And if you noticed, I've attached a lanyard on it. It never goes on a keyring simply because I don't see it as a keyring implement, and I don't really like having it on my keyring. It's one of those things. I like to carry it as a standalone tool, as a standalone knife. And what's most useful about this, of course, are the pair of scissors. And what I need it for is basically the nail file, because I like keeping my nails clean and tidy all throughout the day. So this is a tribute to my first ever Victorinox, which was the classic SD. And there's that. It's just that I wanted something a little more premium. And right beside it, this particular Wenger is another thing I got back in the 1990s. So this thing is over 30 years old, and it's similar to the classic SD in that it has the main blade, the nail file, and of course it does have the Wenger style scissors. Now, this particular knife I gifted to my dad some years back. I wanted him to have something to carry around and keep his nails tidy, because he was also a neat freak when it comes to his nails. Now, this particular Victorinox has already lost the toothpick and tweezers, which are supposed to go in there. And over the years, this thing was carried faithfully. And before they left for the States, it was one of those things that he left behind. So I got it back and kept it. I no longer carry this thing, but it's a memento from my papa. So I still keep it around. Now, when I bought this thing, I bought this with the Wenger Tradesman. Unfortunately, the Tradesman is now long gone. So there's only this Wenger left. As you can see, it's seen better days. The emblem is no longer there. The scales are well used. Everything about this blade has been well used. So speaking of Wenger blades, I have this Wenger Tool Chest Plus. It was practically neglected and left for dead in storage, and I simply rescued it. It's not that I would ever use it. It's so thick and unwieldy, but it's just one of those things that I like to keep around just for video presentations and just for reference. It's I don't know, there's really not much to tell about this particular Wenger except that it has one of the tools that I really like, which is this pair of pliers and the unique Wenger scissors. I do have a video about this, so you can check that video out. My next favorite Victorinox is my ever faithful walker, which I had with me in Corimao. And just this afternoon, I used this tiny saw to fell a malunggay tree. For my English speaking friends and those in the US and UK, malunggay is a favorite vegetable of Filipinos, but it's something that grows wild, and since it was reaching the roof and it was banging on the roof because of the strong winds, I had to cut it down. So I used the saw on this Victorinox walker. As you can see, this actually has nylon scales, and I was just lucky to have gotten it in such a configuration. And what makes this Victorinox tool quite unique is that it's the only Victorinox I took with me on commercial flights. So this particular Victorinox has been on a few commercial flights before 9/11, of course. And it's one of the few knives that I was able to take with me on a plane. And this was the knife that I had on me when my eldest daughter was born. So this thing has had a lot of history with it. There's so many stories. The stories this particular knife could tell. That's a lot. And right next to the walker is another 84 millimeter Victorinox, and this is the waiter. And well, while I've had this thing for such a short time, only a few years, couple of years, this is something that I consider the ultimate EDC Victorinox model. Of course, there's the compact, but the compact has the addition of a pair of scissors and it becomes a two-layer Victorinox model. But I like this because it's really small and it's a good blade to combine with the classic SD. I believe these two models complement each other in terms of features, and having both of them on you on an everyday basis practically covers most of the bases, most of the things you will need on an everyday basis. And lastly, there's the Victorinox Pioneer. Why am I talking about my Victorinox? Well, this are practically, this as it stands is my entire Swiss Army knife collection. And I'm not really into collecting anything. It's just that I've acquired these over the years. And particularly, I got the walker or the waiter because I just really wanted, I didn't want to bring a locking folder like the Spyderco. And I just really wanted something that was light in the pocket and was not intimidating. So that was my sole purpose for getting the walker. Plus the fact that it has most of the stuff that I need on an everyday basis. Now, the reason why I got it, I used to carry the walker a lot, but this walker now lives in my survival kit. So that's where it's at right now. That's where it lives. So I had needed something as an EDC tool, which is why I got the waiter. These are practically, except for the tool chest, these are practically all of the Victorinox models that I'd like to have on my everyday carry system rotation. Now, these four practically symbolize or they summarize what I am as a person. And it's not like I want to collect anything, whether it's knives or watches or whatever else. It's just that these things symbolize what I am as a person, And one of the best descriptions I heard from my colleagues was that I'm probably the one guy who would know what to do in any particular situation, which is why down the road I decided to become a first responder, which was like it was fitting for what I was. But more importantly, just like this walker was the Swiss Army knife that I had on me during my during that one typhoon in 2009. It was called Ondoy, and I had this on me, and it was like a rescue mission that I undertook for my kids. I was bringing in canned goods, some food, supplies, and I wanted to be there for them in that kind of an emergency. So over the years, I've carried stuff like little tools on my keyring and this particular half micra, which you've all seen in the past. I like having something to tinker with every now and then because that's who I am. And I believe that these four Victorinox models is the epitome of who I am as a person. And stuff that I would rather carry or have on me regularly, if not on an everyday basis. Um, I do like folding knives, and I do love my fixie blades, but there's just something about Swiss Army knives that I can't get over. These are just things that I have to have on me, or even if I had my Spyderco Native 5 or my fixie blade, I still would like to have a Swiss Army knife on me because they're just so useful. And these four models, the Waiter, the Walker, the Pioneer, and the Classic SD, are what I believe are the most useful models. They're small, they're lightweight, they're compact, and there's really no reason not to have them on you on an everyday basis, which is why these are the particular Victorinox models that I choose. The Swiss tool was a gift from the country manager of Victorinox. So it's something I got directly from Victorinox. And it's the only multi-tool that I have. It's the only plier-based multi-tool that I have. And if you know me, I'm not a big fan of multi-tools, but I do have that Swiss tool in my survival LBE. So it lives there permanently because I do believe it will be quite useful in a survival situation. But on an everyday basis, it would simply be too cumbersome for me to carry around. So I choose these four as my permanent EDC rotation. Of course, the Walker now lives in a survival kit. So it's only these three on rotation. The Classic SD definitely is an everyday carry item. It usually goes along with my Spyderco Native 5. So this is my blade and Swiss Army knife combination. Otherwise, I would bring the Pioneer on its own with a good flashlight, and that's about it. So anyway, I hope you like this video somehow. This is something I wanted to talk about, and nothing to do on a lazy, rainy afternoon. So there's that. Anyway, again, thank you to my 821 subscribers. As of this recording, there's still 821. So there's not been much movement on the channel. I guess there's really nothing interesting to talk about, or nothing interesting that people would like to see in my channel. So there's that. Thank you for all those who clicked on the QR code and sent me some love. Like I said, it kind of takes some doing to make videos like this, but you know, that's the reality of life. There's not many viewers or subscribers to this channel. So there's that. I guess that's about it for this presentation. That's been the long and the short of it. This has been Absabando for Manila Sentinel Raw. Get yourself a Swiss Army knife.
5100, maintain runway heading, climb 3,000 feet, runway 13, clear for immediate takeoff.